Posie Parker. Remember her? You should, because her visit to New Zealand in March seemed to stir this country up in a really visceral way. I'm not going to get into any sort of debate about trans people or the trans community. It is not something I have any expertise on. But suffice to say, I support anyone's desire or right to be who they want to be and to live how they want to live. What concerns me, though, in something like the Posie Parker story is the way it is communicated. It ends up shaping the story and inevitably the discourse around it. Let me show you what I mean. Most of us hadn't even heard of Posie Parker before her visit here, so rightly we turned to some explainer pieces about her for some background. What are Posie Parker's views and why they're so controversial? Well, we learn that she's a British activist. Correct. That she claims to be an advocate for women. Also correct, though claims can always sound a bit pejorative. And we get a quote from her saying, "I don't want men in women's spaces." This is all pretty good and balanced so far. But remember, this was about why her views are so controversial. Well, apparently she says billionaires are funding transgenderism. She's made various claims about the bodies of trans people and whether they take hormones. She's raising funds to promote the fight back against a global assault of women. And her campaign fosters a community in which all women feel empowered to speak. The problem here is that that is all totally generic. We haven't learned any actual detail about her views or what she said or why they're so controversial. And what I start to wonder is if news organisations don't want to publish those details because they fear that they'll be seen as giving someone like Parker an indirect platform. Here's another example of what you need to know about the anti-trans campaigner heading to New Zealand. So, right off the bat, she is definitively described as anti-trans. That's an example of what I call an accepted bias. Enough people have said something, so it becomes the default view. Let's go into the detail now. She opposes many of the laws and policies implemented to support transgender people, such as around bathroom use and gender identification. That's true, she does, but what are those laws and policies? Where's the detail about them to actually inform us? Also, she's been criticised for appearing on far-right media networks, describing former Fox News host Tucker Carlson as an intelligent, really lovely, welcoming, warmly welcoming man. I have to wonder how relevant that is. There are a lot of people out there who like Tucker Carlson and who like Fox News. I'm not one of them, but they are, of course, entitled to that view. And again, aren't we supposed to be learning about Posie Parker here, not Tucker Carlson? Contrast all this with this example from the BBC in Northern Ireland. This is how they previewed a Posie Parker rally. Counter rally planned over women's rights event in Belfast. There it is, factual, no labelling. Then the text, which builds on things a bit, it calls Parker a controversial women's rights activist who is known for her opposition to transgender rights. To me, that's presenting the information without the accepted biases. Unfortunately, we still don't really learn that much about Parker in the piece. Apparently she is against the tyranny of the movement that seeks to redefine the very fabric of womanhood. That's just a slogan really, isn't it? There's no detail there. And she's previously said the idea that transgender women are women is preposterous. Well, that's her view, but preposterous how? Again, where is the detail? Why can the reader not be given more information about the views of the subject? Maybe you think I'm splitting hairs here, and I'm not referring specifically to that example of does being pro-woman make you anti-trans. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking again about the reporting here, the language that's used. Because words matter, and it's the everyday language that really matters because it's that which shapes so much of our discourse.